We are back. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Unfortunately, I have a little bit of bad news today. Though, I guess before I get to that, we're ready with our tea again. We got iced tea today. Uh, I still have more of it from over last weekend. I'm trying to go through it, but I don't want to have too much in a day. It's black tea, it's caffeine. I don't want that much of it. So, you know, it's going to be a while before I get through it. I hope it doesn't go bad before I finish. Well, in any case, a little bit of bad news today. I know the plan was to do These Are the Questions. Uh, I had mentioned I wanted to do it like every other week or so, and we had things lined up. That's not going to be happening today. Hexic is busy, and while he gave me the go ahead to do the segment with the guest I had invited on, silly me, I got the dates mixed up as to when they were scheduled to come on. So uh, they just weren't planning on being here today. They were planning on being here next week, as we discussed. But I goofed. So I'll check with Hexic, make sure, see if we can't do that next week, because I still like these. These are the question segments. I hope you all do too. But because of that, because of that confluence of things, and my expectation was to do these are the questions. I didn't really have an idea of what we were going to do today, and so I came up with an idea, which was that I had spoken. We had an instance before where we were reading articles by like Orwell and Hitchens and a bunch of other people about the proper way to make tea. And even at the time, I was noting, well, it's very like everyone who's talking about this is British. There are tea making traditions from all over the world, and so I'd be curious to see what different groups say about different things. And and so I figured, why don't we do that today? I already did a little bit of poking around to see if I could find articles about it. It seems like, for the most part, mm, the, the people other than the British don't really write articles in the same way about it, about the proper way to do it. Um, there could be a million reasons for that. I'm not going to speculate as to why. But I found some stuff. It looks cool. At the very least, we'll be learning and about tea, which will be neat. I was thinking maybe I should make some of that Earl Grey with lemon. Oh, now that I think about it, I think I'm out of Earl Grey anyway. So, just as like, all right, we have the English tradition, and then we'll learn about these other things. I'm not even English. I don't know why I'd focus on, but I also have all this iced tea to go through. So instead, we'll make iced tea. We'll be very American. I'm assuming that iced tea is not merely American, but it feels American, doesn't it? And we'll go over some of these articles. We'll go as long as we feel like it's interesting. I'm not gonna force us to go to any particular time. I still have stuff that I can do with the rest of my day if we finish early. So we go as long as we go, and hopefully we have a good time with it, and we learn stuff about tea. I also know, based on what some of the things I found are, that the kind of things we're going to be learning about tea are going to be kind of varied, and that's cool too. That it's not talking about the same things. And then also, I'm very aware as I do this that reading articles about tea and learning how to make it from articles is kind of silly. It's a weird way of going about it. It's very, very much of the modern age, and also um, kind of born of, I shouldn't say born of, but it is emblematic of like atomization that more and more we're seeing in the world. The way I'd prefer to learn about this stuff is to talk to people about it. To learn from people who know how to do it, or at the very least, oh, my family does it this way and does it, because I don't think there's a right way for many of these things. There are basics of, these are kind of things that should probably happen. You heat up water, you put tea in it. Like that kind of stuff is going to be the case. But there's this is about making a drink that people like to drink, and people's tastes are different. And so, you know, especially an article, you can only say like, okay, steep for some number of minutes. But what if someone likes it more bitter? I had a family member who actually impugned my green tea because I didn't leave it long enough to get bitter. That's what she wanted. And while I think her approach wasn't great, there is a point to be had there of like, well, we're making tea for our own tastes. she would have preferred it more bitter. So I should have changed how I done it. I would have should have done things that some of these articles might say are wrong. But there's not really a right or wrong. There's taste, and there's advice about how to achieve those tastes. And this is why like the idea of a tea making master makes sense, because it's not formulaic, not in the sense of engineer brain type, do this for this long, then this, then this. I do think about things that way a lot of the time, but it's important to be aware that not everything works that way. A lot of things don't, and to approach things with the kind of thinking that is appropriate for the subject or for what's at hand, right? So we're going to be trying to do that. We're going to be trying to learn from different traditions, and there are going to be a lot of caveats in that. The first one I've already mentioned, that articles are a weird way of doing that. Um, oh, I almost forgot the reason why I mentioned the point I wanted to get to with mentioning that articles are a weird way of doing this is that, hey, if you're watching and you know something about a tea making tradition, it doesn't matter if I've talked about it before. It doesn't matter if it's even if it's the English tea making tradition where like we read a lot about it. I'd be really interested in hearing from you. And if we get enough people who are interested in doing this, we can even make a day of it. Or even if there's a reasonable expectation that the conversation will be robust enough that even one or two people can do this. And so I'd be very, very interested in learning about this, learning from people who know different things than what I have picked up so far, or I'm about to, or even know better about some of those things I've learned. Maybe a great example is, I know I have jotted down somewhere like some tea making tips, and one of them is like Orwell was saying that you should have an earthen pot and not a ceramic one. He means like clay or something like or stone, I guess. I'm not really sure what he means by earth, but like you can figure that out. And I don't know why that is the case, and I don't have myself either a ceramic or earthen pot. I have a glass one, which Orwell might not have even considered, and the reasons behind him saying that you should have an earthen pot might also apply to why I shouldn't have a glass one. But because I don't know the reasoning, it's hard for me to know. So, even stuff like that, like if you know why that is, cool. That's a great thing I can learn from you about, and I would be happy to do so. So, that all being said, the caveats will come up as we approach them, but let's start reading some articles. I do want to like bury the lead a little bit, so I didn't show you too much here. So I was just like Googling, how to make proper tea, and I have a bit of an order for how I want to go things. I did not read the articles ahead of time, but I did do a quick skim for like the kind of information that I'm likely to get. I was worried that like it would just be a recipe. That said, there are some recipes coming up and in these articles, and I think that is good that I have some in here. I just didn't want exclusively recipes. And so that said, one of the things, I did search how to properly make tea, and you can see here, Twinnings North America. Let's see what this North American organization has to say about making tea. About this much. Maybe this is why people say Americans suck at tea. Like this is all we got. Now this is from, you notice, established 1706 in London. This is a British company, I think, or organization, but this is the U.S. branch, so maybe that's. So let's see what what Americans have to say about it. I mean, I think the most American way of making tea is to chuck a bunch of it in the Boston Harbor, but who am I? Who am I to say? All right. You deserve a better cup of tea. In fact, you deserve the perfect cup of tea. True. Very true. Uh, Choosing your favorite Twinnings blend. Oh, okay. This is just, they're trying to sell their thing. Okay. Um, okay, we're going to skip the tea bag section because we want to learn more about loose tea, right? Prepare loose tea by placing 1 to 2 teaspoons of loose tea into a tea strainer. Put the strainer into your cup and then pour properly heated water directly over the leaves. If using a teapot, measure 1 to 2 teaspoons per 8 ounces of water. So I have found that this is what I mean about like engineer brain type thinking. This is not true to my experience. My teacup is I don't know exactly how much water is in there. It fits, but it's significantly more than 8 ounces. It might be like 16 or 20 or something like that. Um, that said, uh, 1 teaspoon of any of the teas that I have for my teacup is sufficient to make a strong cup of tea. If I put 2 teaspoons, I would be wasting a lot of that tea, to be honest with you. In fact, when I make a pot of tea, it is strong to my liking if I put like 2 teaspoons, and that pot um is enough to make one of my teacup, which I guess I should show. This is my mug, my grandpa mug. I don't know how much I've shown that off on stream, but yes, I do have a grandpa mug. Hey Amazon Kane, glad you're here. This is it's like one of these, and then two of our like normal mugs, but I don't know how much any of those fill. I think I think the other ones that we have here are like 12 ounces or something like that. So the amounts, like, I don't know. I think this is a lot of touch and feel. Like, get a gauge based on the tea you have and how strong you want it and what works out. Like, and you'll mess up. There was that one instance where I made a truly awful cup of tea, and in retrospect, figured out, yeah, I just didn't put enough tea in there. I think I put like a 3/4 of a teaspoon, maybe half or something like that. Because for what it's worth, other teas I have are so strong where if you put half a teaspoon to, or like 3/4 of a teaspoon closer to, you'll have a strong cup of tea. There's a Ceylon tea with orange that I have that is like that. Some of this stuff is good as like benchmarks. All right, the brew time. I also find that this number is very much touch and feel. Sometimes, usually going less than this works for the teas I have. But it's also probably particular to what tea you have. If the tea you have is just not as strong, it's different and whatever else. This one is important though. Green tea, you have to be really, really, really careful. I am not great at this, or I should say, I want to get better about this. I often find there's the tiniest bit of bitterness in the green tea I brew, even though I don't even type it. I'm pretty sure it's like less than 2 minutes. I mostly look for color and smell, but the problem I think with that approach is that green tea is just a much lighter color, a much lighter smell, and by the time I think it's sufficient, it's enough to have gotten a little bitter. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't make incredibly bitter green tea, but there is an amount of bitterness that I think I could get rid of if I were more on top of it. Um, Cold brew iced tea, interesting. Yeah, so these are useful, and then like that's all we got here for mild to tea flavor, shortened brew time. Yeah, that's a big thing. Also, steeping is a big deal. I've noticed. If you're dipping the tea bag or the strainer with the loose leaves or whatever in and out of the water, it agitates the tea leaves, and so and like it moves it through more water. It shortens the brew time and increases it, like I've noticed if it doesn't like increase or decrease strength or whatever, but if you leave it on its own, it'll take 4 minutes to steep or to infuse, I suppose, and then instead you steep it a bunch and like jostle it should be like it might take a little less time to get the same results. For stronger tea for increased brewing time, of course, be careful with that. You get bitterness, and then milk and sugar is matter of personal taste. And this is what we have from the U.S. Thank you. God bless America. Let's move on. That said, while I am looking at this article and being like, well, that's America for you. We're not good at teas. I am not taking this. I do not have the same takeaway from the next article, which is similarly short. I found it really, really difficult to find information about African tea traditions. And even to the point where I think I only found like one article from Uganda style and one from like Kenyan style. And both of them I'm pretty like are mostly like directions as opposed to like learning about um, practice and what like how to get better at the craft or whatever. I'm sure there is that, and that's part of what made me ask prior, hey, if you know about this, please hit me up because I'm like, there's no way this is the totality of what you can find about it. It's just a matter of I don't necessarily know where to look, and and this and what I'm the kind of information I'm looking for just not might not be in article form. A huge amount of what people do is passed down just like through culture. You don't often need like you have to think, oh, there's some idiot American who wants to learn about this. Let's put up all the things that we think are important online. And then what things do you even think are important? Like if I were going to teach someone how to make tea, like I don't know, some of the stuff might be so obvious I might not even think to write it down. I was trying to think of an example, but obviously those things are going to be things I don't think about. So, so we don't have a lot of information here, but we will learn what we can. The one thing I will say is while some of the stuff in the article, in what I skimmed through, is not to my personal taste, you can't deny that this is just a gorgeous looking cup of tea. What a beautiful, rich color. It's one of those like tea is like a lot of things that we do for pleasure in our lives, and that includes art, cuisine, tea, things like that. There's a lot of aspects to it that go beyond the the thing that you expect. It's not just taste with tea. I wouldn't say that if a cup of tea looks terrible that's necessarily bad, but there's an amount of like there's increased beauty in the experience for just how gorgeous that looks. Like that, what's such a beautiful color. It makes me want to try it and want to drink it and um, want to know more about it. And that's not again, it's not a bad thing for teas that don't have this, but when you do, it's kind of neat. Um, yeah, it just looks absolutely great. All right, let's talk Ugandan tea. I love to try something new. Or you mean new things? Or would love to try? Okay. And today I'm sharing with you. I'm being nitpicky. And today I'm sharing with you a tea recipe, Ugandan style. Okay, so this is also coming from Kristen Lynn Jacobson. I don't know who that person is. It's possible that they're not Ugandan, especially if she's talking about trying something new. So even the one thing I could find about Ugandan tea is not from someone who is very familiar with the tradition, right? Um, I agree, Camgal. Drinking tea can be very relaxing. I think it varies though, and that's one thing that's really cool too. Drinking iced tea, as I have today, I wouldn't describe as relaxing, but that's okay too. Different things are good for different scenarios. Like iced tea, I associate with like summer fun. Like you're gonna go swimming and you have your iced tea, or you're gonna go, play outside, play games outside, or sports or whatever. It is more like invigorating than relaxing, but that's cool too. Like it's great that it has that diversity, that variety of experience. Whereas especially like herbal tea, like chamomile, I find one of the most relaxing teas. Partly because of association. It was like the nighttime tea when I was a kid because it doesn't have caffeine, but it's also really tasty. Um, so it is really relaxing to me, and it's cool that there are different aspects to it. In fact, because of the caffeine content, I find black tea is a lot less relaxing. But that's not a bad thing. It's just different. Have you tried matcha tea? Do I like it? I think I have, but if I remember correctly, I've only tried matcha in like iced tea or like boba tea or milk tea form. I don't think I've had matcha tea like hot brewed matcha. And so it's possible my opinions on it will remain the same because the flavor is likely similar. Obviously it'll be a little bit different in that form. I didn't really love the matcha flavor. I like boba and milk teas in general. The difference in taste that I think was due to the matcha was not for me. But as I say, that might be different in the hot tea form. I don't remember if I've had hot matcha. I might have. I don't remember. But as I recall, I wasn't a huge fan of matcha. Teach their own. Be made in the proper African way, tea needs to be cooked. So that's interesting. I have seen this before, actually. Not put exactly in this way, but when I was trying to learn how to make Thai tea, it was closer to cooking it than to brewing it. That said, when I make it, it's closer to brewing it than cooking it. Maybe next time I'll try cooking. And I'm sure we'll get to what that means. But in Uganda, tea is cooked and spiced. That's pretty cool. Um, this means you will see many recipes start with boiling milk first to make the tea richer and creamier. So this actually, I'm interested in trying this. It makes a little more sense to me than the British just pouring milk in their tea like like you do with coffee. I have not found that to improve anything, but I do know there are milk teas that I like, and I know I think maybe I shouldn't say I know. Isn't chai like that also? And I like chai. Um, Grab a good book, sit under the night skies, and sip some Ugandan style tea. Here's a recipe to try. Yeah, I mean that's is exactly what you were saying, right, Camgal? It just has this feeling of relaxation. That said, the color of this tea does make and like it does make it feel more like a daytime, like an afternoon type tea, just from the sense I get of like the assumptions I'm making about the experience based on what it looks like. There's one milk tea I really enjoy, milky oolong. Oh, okay, okay. I think I was kind of whatever on milky oolong if I remember right. I brew it and then add honey and finally a little milk. It's really nice breakfast tea. Well, I know, yeah, you like honey a lot in your tea. That's another thing. Like the when we talk about like right and wrong ways to make tea, that's what I mean about taste. I prefer sugar a lot of the time. I am finding though in chamomile, honey works. Honey is all. I don't know about better, but I think it suits the flavor. It lines up with the flavor a little bit more. Um, and so if the tradition is like, oh, you don't add tea, add honey or whatever. Well, what if the person likes honey? What if they like it? It's a lot of messing around and trying stuff. There's no right answers here. All right, Ugandan ginger tea recipe. And this is all that we have for this, unfortunately. I'd love to learn more about it, as I say, but I couldn't really find very much. I mean, I wasn't spending hours looking into it. I was just trying to pull up a bunch of articles, but this is unfortunately all I was able to find. So, ingredients: 1 1-inch piece of ginger, fresh. Oh, that's really cool. 1.5 teaspoons loose black tea leaves. 2 tablespoons sugar. I'm guessing this is going to be a pot of tea. That's a lot of sugar. 2 cups milk. And this is also, and if this is a pot of tea, note 1.5 teaspoons of black leaves, the black tea leaves for the whole pot, right? Uh, uh, And yeah, I like ginger tea a lot too, Camgal. I don't drink it that much. I think it's a matter of like, there are a lot of things like that where I do like it, but I'm never in the mood for it. I don't know what that's about. All right, combine the milk, tea, and sugar in a small saucepan and bring to boil. I saw this in a Thai tea recipe. Actually, I should find like the Thai tea thing. That's one thing I forgot to bring up here. I'll do that right after. Wash a thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger. Pound until flat. Juice should begin to ooze. Oh, that's really interesting. Add the ginger to the milk tea mixture when it begins to boil. Reduce the heat. Let it all simmer for 2 to 3 minutes. We're gonna try this. This looks really interesting. It's also something that is pretty accessible. It's not hard to have these things. All right, we're gonna. Don't I have a tea tips? Oh, okay. I don't have a folder for it. We're gonna move this in here. I know you can't see the last thing I did, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna try that in the future. That said, I am now reminded of what I found for Thai tea. Now, this was months ago. I struggled a lot with that, but okay. I mostly just want to find. Okay, I mostly just. I guess a recipe will be good enough because I did notice the like cooking thing in that as well. And while I more brew my Thai tea than cook it. Maybe I should try cooking it. I think that could be a way to step up my game, as it were. I'm gonna skip a lot of this stuff. I'll do this off stream because this is mostly to see about how to cook it. Okay, how to make iced tea at home. All right. The only difference in our Thai tea recipe when it comes compared to most restaurant versions is that we're using a little less sugar. But really, once you get the basics down on making Thai iced tea, you can customize the flavors and concentration the way you like. It's one of those recipes that's great no matter how you make it because it's just so decadent and satisfying. Yeah, this is to the point where one of the things that you do when you make Thai tea is you can see in a lot of these pictures is you add half and half or milk. I made it for a friend once who is lactose intolerant, but he quite enjoyed it as just the iced tea without the milk. You can mess around with this stuff. Uh, okay, I'm just looking for the like steps. Oh, maybe it's in the restaurant section because I was realizing that doesn't the sec. Oh my word! Can you? Okay, that's just only in that part of it. Okay, does it not say the steps? Okay, maybe it says there's a video for it. I just want like a quick thing to show what I mean about it saying how to cook it, and I want to praise myself on it. Is that so hard? Is that so difficult? Also, what qualifies as tea is an interesting question to me because like there's a drink that a family member of mine makes where it's you ground it's ground ginger and ground lemon. It's like you put lemon and ginger in a food processor. You put a little bit of that in hot water with some honey. Is that tea? It doesn't use tea leaves, but you make it kind of like tea. I missed it. There are no. These are the questions today. Yeah. So unfortunately, Amazon Kane, um, Hexic is busy, and my guest for today, I was mistaken. We're scheduled for next week, so we'll try to do that next week instead. And that's why we're doing the tea talk because uh, it seemed like a cool thing to do, and I didn't have anything else planned. I just want. Okay. If you prefer the restaurant way, basically involves imported Thai tea mix. Uh, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is what I have. I wasn't even really able to find anything else. The all natural way, if you're averse to food coloring, you offer this alternative route. Use black tea bags. Is this the all natural way? Okay. Along with one chai tea bag for extra flavor. Okay. Are they just trying to sell their thing? I just want to know how to cook it. All right, using the tea mix. Add boiling water to Thai tea mix in a pitcher and stir. Allow to steep for 2 hours and cool. Okay, this is pretty close to what I do. I'm curious for the other option, and then the tea bags. Okay, I guess I'll find it later. I do remember seeing like instructions in a saucepan, but I can't find it right this second, and I don't want to miss out on the other articles we have because they do get really interesting and longer. I was also interested in Chinese tea making. I didn't. I forgot to look up Japanese tea making. There are probably similarities and differences between any like even closely related cultures. So there can be differences, but this is also very long. So we're not gonna sweat it, right? All right. Brewing guide for Chinese green tea. Chinese green tea is very delicate and tender. In order to brew it in a professional way, there are some parts should be paid attention to. At first, we need to distinguish the shape and characteristics of the tea leaves. That's interesting that's going that into depth. Again, this is like just gorgeous. Mostly it's the surroundings. You can't really tell the color of the tea that much, but it seems like the color of the pot is the green part, but it's a good picture. Less the color of the tea that's enticing than how cool the picture is. Though I don't know. Does anyone want the bottom of their teacup to be wet? There's whatever. I'm being stupid. All right, different shapes of tea leaves. Category 1, very tender and fresh tea leaves, either curly or covered with rich, fuzzy, or plucked in very early spring, whose is extraordinarily fresh and tender. For instance, our Dongting Mountains Pai Lo Chun green tip tea and all premium grade green tea. Okay, this is the kind of thing of like I do want to learn about tea from like the plant stage, but I don't know anything about it now. So we'll just, you know, I guess we're starting to learn. Um, but it is really cool. Of like, yeah, we a lot of times, yeah, even the articles, everything we've read so far about making tea starts at you already have the tea leaves, don't worry about it. It's cool that we're getting a little bit of, well, what if you don't? Or like, what if you have different kinds of tea leaves? You know, like that's kind of neat. Category 2, the whole shape is slender or flat. Bud-shaped tea leaves, for instance, are dragon wall. Okay. Plant some tea in your yard. I do want to I do want to start with this. I keep putting it off, and I forget why. I guess I might as well just do it. I do want to start with growing my own tea plants. I don't know what kind of plants they are. That's why I say plants. Uh, the plan is to start with chamomile. The I mean, I just like chamomile a whole lot. So we're gonna start there, and it's I have to assume the easiest because it's literally just like snip the flowers at a certain stage, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I will try that. That is something that seems interesting to me. I just have to go get a chamomile plant, which okay. Category 3, the overall shape of tea leaves is looser, flat, and strong. The tea is relatively less tender. Okay. 3 Chinese green tea brewing methods. The top drop method. The top drop method involves pouring the hot water into a glass vessel and then adding the tea leaves. In other words, the leaves are added after the hot water. This is notably different than if you remember what Orwell was saying of like, you should the water and the tea should come into contact at the point when the water is boiling, which means like the tea the tea should be in the pot. You bring the pot to the kettle, so you pour it immediately. There's no time between, so it's as hot as possible, and you add the water to the tea. This is a very different method. This is the kind of thing I was looking for, of different approaches and understanding as to why you do things this way. This method is best suitable for brewing the most delicate teas. Category 1 green tea, such as, okay, I'm going to skip their like promotional stuff. Since the force of pouring water may break the very brittle and tender tea leaves and their nutritious, valuable white fuzzy. the white fuzzy. I love the fuzzy. Let the tea leaves slowly sink without destroying any part of the tea leaves. It is the best way for brewing this type of green tea. That's really cool. Like, I don't know. That seems, I don't know. There's something kind of peaceful in that approach. I like it for that. The leaves should slowly and elegantly sink and unfurl. This method should be avoided for loosely shaped tea leaves. So this is also something I guess I should have talked about a little bit ahead of here. I'm used to tea leaves not being like fresh leaves. I don't know how to put it. They're usually dried. Is the loose leaf that I get. This seems to be saying like, no, you just put like kind of like you would put like a mint leaf in your tea. Just like these seem to be loose and like fresh tea leaves, not dried, and so that they can be sent around, which might be the kind of thing that you need to grow your own tea for this to be viable. Though they say they have products that are like this. That's really interesting to me. Step by step, warm a teaware with hot water. Discard the water afterwards. Oh, interesting. They're also saying to heat the teapot first. They're just saying it a little bit differently than Orwell did. Yeah, you warm the teapot with hot water, then you pour out that water because you just want it to be warm. Then you pour the hot water. Notice for green tea, this is not boiling. Uh, Boiling would be 100 degrees Celsius, right? But it's not quite boiling. I don't know what this converts into, and I don't care enough to go like do the math or whatever. But just as important note, into the vessel until it is 7/10 full. Interesting. Add 1 gram of tea leaves for every 50 milliliters of hot water. Infuse the tea for around 1 to 3 minutes. Depends on the tea. Drink until 1/3 of the tea is left before refilling. Repeat a total of 3 times. Gradually increase the steeping time for subsequent brews. Interesting. So there's also the understanding that this 1 gram of tea leaves will be sufficient for more than 1 cup, but you kind of want to pace it out. That's kind of cool. Yeah, neat. The middle drop method. This method reduces the risk of high temperature destroying aromas in the tea. It divides the brewing process into 3 parts: hot water, tea leaves, hot water. In other words, the tea leaves are added after half of the water has been poured in. This method is most suitable for flat or bud-shaped tea leaves. So that's kind of cool. That's something I hadn't seen anyone suggest before, of neither before nor after, but during. You pour some water, you put the tea, you pour more water. A lot of this is the same. They also want you to warm the teaware. I'm going to try doing this. This is something we've seen a few times now. I'm going to try warming my teapot with hot water first. It's a little tough because like I only have the one kettle, so by the time by the time the water like I put new water in the kettle and that comes to the right temperature, will my teapot have cooled down again? We'll figure out how to deal with that, but I'm going to try this. Tilt the vessel. Okay, so pour the hot water into the vessel until it's 1/3 full. Add a gram of tea leaves for every 50 milliliters of water. Tilt the vessel, slowly rotating it 2 times. This is to ensure a better infusion. That's kind of neat. Notice also like the detail. I'm sure there's a lot of this that is going to be left out of some of the other things we found, like the Ugandan tea recipe. There's probably a lot of like little things that, especially if you go to someone's home, that like, they'll have those. It might not even be cultural so much as like I do it this way and this is why. And that's a cool thing that I'd want to learn more about. though of course is very, very hard to do and basically impossible through article form. We found a little bit of it, but not very much. Top the vessel with hot water at the same temperature until full. Infuse the tea. Drink until and then repeat 3 times. And then there's the bottom drop methods. This is the most common method for brewing green tea and is suitable for all general grade tea leaves. However, some green tea, such as these kinds, whose leaves are flat and tend to float, or whose nutrient substance is needed to be aroused by hot water, are highly recommended using the bottom drop method. Okay. Um, and then this is you put the leaves in first, and then you pour the water. All right. It's also saying to tilt and rotate the cup to ensure better infusion. Something that's also important to note is, I'm just curious, does it say it here for the bottom drop method? It doesn't. It's kind of interesting. It's interesting to note is what kind of teacups we're talking about are going to be really relevant here. Are we talking about the little teacups that are like this big and like there's just not much that not much to drink it? Is it my American ass mug that is like that is gigantic or whatever? Because I like to drink a lot of tea. I mean, for what it's worth, the reason why I have such a big mug and I drink large amounts of tea when I do is just I get thirsty and I drink a lot of water. I don't know. If I drink this much tea, it's like, all right, how much? It barely existed. I barely even taste it because I'm trying to drink it. I'm thirsty. I'm interested to know which teas are better at hydrating the body versus teas that may cause dehydration. Yeah, I'm curious too. I don't actually know, ChemGal. Maybe if we have time after we go through these articles, I'll do a quick Google, see if we can find something. To summarize, uh, these teas are highly recommended for the top drop. Okay, this is just which teas are recommended for which method. In fact, oh, and the bottom drop method can brew any green tea. In fact, the way to brew is not compulsory, like we were saying. You can try both 3 ways. It probably means all 3 ways for brewing any green tea you like, and you will finally find which ways you like it the most. The way this article reads is like maybe it was translated from something written in another language. The grammatical errors that exist, or I don't know. It doesn't feel like just someone like mistyped. So we're gonna have some of that, but it's not. I don't know. I don't hold it against the author. I guess I shouldn't hold any of it against any author. Maybe I shouldn't be so stringent about it. Whatever. We're moving on. Temperature for brewing green tea: 80 to 85 degrees Celsius. Time for brewing Chinese green tea: by using a glass vessel, 1 to 5 minutes. Adjust time to brew for brewing according to your personal preference. For Gaiwan brewing, I don't know what that means. The first brew should be no more than 1 minute, normally 10 seconds. Different green tea has different first brewing time. Interesting. And it has some like details on that. I'm not going to go too much into the details because I don't have access to any of these. So learning about it is, well, we'll come back to this if that comes up, you know? In fact, the time for brewing is not compulsory. It can be adjusted to your personal taste. As I say, I have that family member who wanted her green tea bitter. So yeah, you should leave it in for longer. Each different time for brewing will give your different taste and mouthfeel. Every time for brewing is a surprise. Warning: avoid brewing green tea in hot water for too long because this can cause tender green tea being overbrewed and loss of its fresh taste. You can also get a lot of bitterness. Amount of green tea for brewing: normally 2 teaspoons or 125 milliliters. Or briefly keep tea in water is water is 1 gram, 50 milliliters to a gram, 80 Okay, I'm not exactly sure what I'm reading here. Actually, feel free to adjust the amount of tea leaves according to your personal taste. Yep, of course. Now, oolong is something very different. I've barely had oolong tea, so I'm not super sure about it. Oolong tea is semi-fermented, tastes like the bridge between green tea and black tea. It is very mellow and fresh. Nobody can deny its unforgettable, rich, complex flavor. Among many tea wares, we recommend you use this clay teapot and gaiwan to brew this most characteristic Chinese tea. The clay teapot used to brew oolong tea in Gongfu style is specifically tiny, whose volume is normally around 100 milliliters to 200 milliliters. I've seen these, and I've been very curious as to why these teapots are so small. They don't even show one here. There are some really, really small teapots. I'm like, how much does this even really brew? Well, I guess there's a reason for it, and hopefully we'll learn what that is going forward. Or you can also brew it by using normal sized teapot with more tea leaves. Okay, sure. Different shapes of oolong tea and how much for brewing. Type 1, overall sphere and hemisphere, for example, these types of tea. And stripe type, what is that type of tea? How much for brewing? Brewing type 1, oolong using the brewing type 1 oolong using the amount of tea leaves that can cover the bottom of the teapot for the small teapot. And then type 2 using the amount of tea leaves that can cover a fifth to a third of the volume of the teapot. Okay, so it seems like you need a lot more of the type 2. And it's interesting. I like the more what's the word I want? More like vague instructions on how to do this. It's reminiscent of recipes. They're like add a pinch of sugar, a dash of salt, whatever. Probably not both of those things in a recipe. Uh, it's there's a the specificity is probably not what you're after here. You want about this much, and you adjust more or less based on your taste and what's working for you, so on and so forth. Ooh, excuse me. Or you can brew oolong tea by using 2 teaspoons of the tea for 125 milliliter teacup or gaiwan, 4 teaspoons for a 250 milliliter glass, or 8 teaspoons for a 500 milliliter teapot. That is a lot, actually. I wouldn't have expected to need that much for a teapot. Or add 1 gram oolong tea for every 20 to 30 milliliters of water. And of course, there's no precise guide for the amount. The important thing is how you calm your soul and enjoy it. So true. I love how it's worded too. The taste is always different. It really depends on your personal taste, and adjust the amount of tea leaves to the quantity you prefer. Something I know I've harped on repeatedly, but don't forget. Brewing. There are several types of oolong tea that depend on different fermentation degree. Light or moderate fermented oolong tea ferment 10 to 50%, or these kinds, I guess. Deep fermented oolong tea fermented 50 to 70%, and it's this kind. For simple glass vessel teapot style, you can brew fewer tea leaves with more water for longer brewing time. Use 2 teaspoons of the tea for 125 milliliter teacup or gaiwan. 4 teaspoons for this. They told us these measurements before. For tea kuan yin or Taiwan oolong tea, use 100 degrees Celsius hot water. Okay, so you actually want boiling water here. To infuse tea leaves for around 2 to 5 minutes. Re-steep for around 1 further infusion. Adjust by personal taste. And for this kind of tea, using, again, boiling water. It's interesting they didn't say the temperature for this, but it's probably the same as the green tea, right? The 80 to 85 degrees Celsius. Using boiling water to infuse tea leaves for around 1 to 2 minutes. Re-steep for around 2 to 3 minutes for further infusion. Okay. The Gongfu style. Warm the gaiwan tiny teapot with hot water. Discard the water afterwards. Add the oolong tea for the appropriate amount of water. Pour the hot water. Oh, it is boiling. Okay. Into the clay teapot. Tilt it, slowly rotating it 2 times. Quickly discard the water. This step is for waking up the tea leaves and simulating the special aroma for oolong tea. This right here is exactly why I wanted to do this. Is this kind of this step of a process is, I'm sure, highly cultural, and I would never think that this is something you're supposed to do with oolong tea. If I tried to make it, I wouldn't do this, and I might not get as good a cup of tea. I might, go, oh, what's the point? How good is oolong anyway? If this is if this is how it tastes or whatever, maybe I'm getting a very different flavor or whatever else. This is exactly why I wanted to do this, and exactly why I've been asking. If you know about tea making traditions, please let me know. I want to talk to you about it. Refill clay teapot with hot water. For light, moderate fermented oolong tea. Oh, how long should you? Okay, it's just tilt it, rotate it 2 times, and get rid of the water. This is not a long process. For light, moderate fermented oolong tea, infuse the tea for around 40 seconds for the first brew, extending to an extra 15-second infusion time for the following brew. For deeply fermented oolong tea, infuse the tea for around 0 seconds for the first brew. I wonder if there's a typo. I wonder if it's supposed to be like 10, 20, 30 seconds or something like that, because it seems weird to say 0 seconds. This is probably just a typo. Or 10 seconds for the second review brew, and then extend an extra 10-second infusion time for the following brew. Though that said, it means I just I just don't know. We just don't have this information now. But what such as it is. Pour the steep tea into serving cup and divide into small teacups and serve. Okay, so these are the small teacups. Repeat 7 to 8 times for this kind of tea. 5 to 7 times for this kind. Or okay. I haven't even heard of this kind of tea. I've probably seen it on a list of teas at a tea shop that I've been to, but I don't remember having seen it. I don't even know how to pronounce it. For pu'er tea? I'm not really sure. Pu'er is I feel like I'm butchering it. I'm very sorry. Is a worldwide well-known Chinese tea product in the Yunnan province of China. It is a particular post-fermented tea. It uses sun-dried. Nope, not gonna try. I'm gonna mess that up. Shiken Mao? Alright, I lied. I tried. Tea leaves, Yunnan big leaf variety as material, and then processed or pressed into different shapes, including loose leaf and tight pressed. Among many tea wares, we recommend you use this teapot to brew this most characteristic Chinese tea. The clay teapot used to brew pu'er tea in Gongfu style is specific tiny whose volume is normally around 100 to 200 milliliters. You can also brew it by using normal sized teapot with more tea leaves. For simple glass vessel teapot brewing, you can brew fewer tea leaves with more hot water for longer brewing time. Use 2 teaspoons of the tea for each 125 milliliter teacup. 4 teaspoons. Okay, this is the same measurements as before. Use boiling water to infuse the tea for around 3 to 4 minutes. Resteep for around 6 or 7 times. Oh, you get a lot of tea out of this. If you can reuse the same tea leaves for 6 or 7 brews, that's a rich flavor if you can get that much out of it. That's really impressive. I do know, like I've used the same tea sometimes for like 2 brews at most. Usually, I can't even get that much out of it. That you can do 6 or 7 is pretty cool. Adjusted according to personal taste. For Gonku style, warm the teapot, discard the water afterwards, add the tea, pour the hot water, tilt it, rotate it 2 times, then discard the water. The step is for waking up the tea leaves, stimulating the special aroma of the tea. Refill the clay teapot with hot water. Infuse tea for around 10 to 20 seconds for first brew. Extend it to extra 20-second infusion for the following brew. Pour the... I wonder if it's 20 seconds for each... for each... Like, the first one is 10 to 20. The second one is 20. The third one is 40. Or do they mean... And oh no, sorry, they're saying an extra 20 seconds. So this is 30 to 40 seconds. That's probably 30 to 40 going forward. But again, that's like engineer brain thinking, right? It's how long it takes to get the proper flavor. This is an estimate of how long it should take, right? Pour the steep tea into serving cup and divide it into small teacups and serve. Repeat 8 to 15 times depending on personal taste. Wow, that's a lot of times. All right, and then for white tea, we're almost done. But this is what I mean about like this article was enormously long. I didn't want to spend too much time on the Thai tea thing, and we have multiple articles to go. I don't think any of them are this long, but we got a lot of information that we can go through if we want. White tea I know is very very delicate. It is, to my knowledge, needs to be brewed at the lowest temperature. It also, like, you have to be really really careful with it. But I don't know like any about what the delicacy looks like. I don't know if it's like a bitterness thing or if you'll just like destroy the flavor or something like that. It can be brewed in both a glass vessel, teapot, and a gaiwan. For what is a gaiwan exactly? All right, I just want to double check. I thought that was just like the name of that teapot, but maybe that is an assumption that isn't correct. Oh, okay, I've seen these before. So these are oh well, it's like this. It's like that single, kind of looks like a single cup, right? but you infuse in there and you can pour. I've seen these. I just didn't know that's what it was called. All right, for simple glass vessel teapot brewing, you can brew fewer tea leaves with more water. Okay. I'm trying to skip the stuff that we've gone over before. So use 3 teaspoons of this tea. All right, and then measurements. Okay. Using 90-degree hot water. Oh, okay. So I'm mistaken. It is hotter water than green tea. To infuse the tea leaves for around 5 to 6 minutes. Re-steep for around 1 to 2 further infusions, just by personal taste. And then you warm the tea. You add the tea leaves. So you fill 1/3 of teaware with hot water. The water should not be poured directly onto the tea leaves, but should be run down the inside face of the teaware. That's really interesting. This protects the silver white fuzz and avoids otherwise damaging the appearance of the tea leaves. Now, is this just an appearance thing, or does it also affect the flavor? Which it could. I'm not sure. Um, Tilt the teaware, slowly rotating it 2 times to ensure better infusion. Make sure the water reaches every tea leaf. Refill the glass with hot water until the glass is 7/10 full. Reinfuse, so on and so forth. And then compared with this, is not as tender, but with a stronger flavor. Detailed guide is below. You warm the tea, you add the tea leaves, it's the same basic process, it looks like. All right, cool. That was a long article, and it was very, very detailed, especially for stuff that I'm not familiar with, so I don't know what to think of it. But it was really informative, so I'm glad we found it. We're gonna add that to all right, if this is expert level tea stuff from what it looks like, or at the very least well above my level. So if we ever graduate to being able to be making tea with these not the dry leaves that I have, but fresh tender tea leaves or whatever else, we're gonna come back to this. So that's why I have it saved here. And moving on. I was also interested in learning how to make chai because I do like chai a lot. And if we ever hit our follower goal, that will be well, it's likely that chai will be the tea that will make me suffer the least if I add salt or pepper instead of sugar. Though I don't think you're supposed to add sugar to chai. But I want to learn more about it, and I glanced ahead. If I'm not mistaken, it tells you how to make it yourself. Not you have a blend or whatever, but how to make your chai blend, which is super cool. A truly authentic Indian chai tea recipe, as made for me by my lovely Indian mother-in-law. Tea in the Indian way is rich and milky, deeply colored, steaming hot, flavorful, and sweet. You'll love this homemade masala chai from scratch with warming spices like whole cinnamon. I don't have chai that often, but oh my, it is very, very, very good. What is chai tea? The pale tea that North Americans typically drink is nothing close to the tea drunk by millions of Indians. Indian tea, called chai in Hindi, is rich and milky, deeply colored, steaming hot, and boldly flavorful with a definite need for sugar to offset the toasty bitterness. I was wrong. All right, you do use sugar. All right. The word chai just means tea. If you've seen the most recent Spider-Verse movie, you will have learned this. So when people say chai tea, as made clear in the movie, you're saying tea, and it's very silly. Have you heard of I psychedelic? I have ayahuasca. I think I have heard of ayahuasca. I think that's how. If this is what I think it is, then yes, I've heard of it. Let me do a quick Google. I've heard of it. I've never tried it. I don't. I should probably not be at the images. It's a plant-based psychedelic. No, yeah, I've heard of it. I know almost nothing about it. I know people like it. I didn't even know you made it as a T. Give you an idea how little I know about ayahuasca. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it. Ayahuasca. Okay, no, I am pronouncing it mostly correct. I know almost nothing about ayahuasca. Oop, skipped about. What happened? Okay, so many ads. I think when they reloaded it, shifted the page a bunch. All right, if you ask for chai tea in India, you're asking for TT, and your dorky adorableness will get laughed at a little bit. I like that. Masala chai, on the other hand, is what you're probably aiming for. It is the spiced version. Masala equals spices. When we think of chai in North America, we are probably thinking of masala chai. Okay, I didn't know that part. Yeah, I thought chai meant the spiced tea in particular, or rather, I knew it meant tea, but I thought specifically when you're talking about tea, you're talking about the spiced tea. But okay, masala chai. is the thing I was thinking of. Excuse me. If you visit India, you'll see chaiwalas on every corner, calling out chai, 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 and pouring steaming tea from a height called pulling the chai, allowing it to cool a bit as it streams into little metal cups. That's kind of cool. I like that. Again, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for, of these little techniques. I think I lost that word earlier, but it's the one I was looking for. These techniques that people have for different reasons of like and different um, end results. It's kind of like why wine glasses are shaped the way they are. It's to allow oxidation, but at a specific rate and whatever else. Same thing here, right? Pouring the tea from a height allows it to cool. I would not have thought of that, you know. But now I learned a thing. Interesting article. What an ayahuasca retreat showed me about my life. Uh, sure. If you want to like send me a link, if we have time, I'll go over it today. If I don't, we'll go over it some other time. That sounds interesting. We already had we had went over an article kind of a while ago of someone's experience with, I think it was MDMA, making them like not a white nationalist anymore. So this kind of thing is interesting to learn about. And we've done it before. If you search the name, you'll find it. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll do that, and then we'll come back. All right. All right. What is chai tea made of? Wait, you just did the thing. You just did the thing. You just said if you say chai tea, you're saying tea tea. You just did it. All right. We don't have to read it today. Yeah, sure. I probably won't because it's only kind of tangential, right? It is ayahuasca tea, but it's more about like the effects of psychedelics than about tea making. Uh, what I love so much about it is that the tea is actually brewed in milk and water in a saucepan on the stove. This is what I meant. Yeah, I knew like this I had seen already that yes, you kind of cook the tea, kind of like the Ugandan tea was saying. And it is kind of interesting that like the different methods exist and there are, I'm sure, reasons for them, even if these articles don't go into it. Because of this, it stays piping hot until ready to be. Never mind. It immediately says it. I should read before I make assumptions. Because of this, it stays piping hot until ready to be drunk, rather than cooling down as it steeps in a teapot. Interesting. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it also makes a ton of sense to me why this would be desirable in some teas and not others. That's really cool. Authentic chai tea is made from water, milk in a ratio roughly 1 part milk to 2 parts water. Lots of tea leaves or tea bags for strong infusion, plenty of sugar, optional addition of spices. How to make chai at home? I'm not doing it. All right, it keeps saying chai tea. I'm not doing it. It had a, I You just taught me. You just taught me, and you were just saying that it's masala chai specifically. What happened? Did someone else make these headers other than the author? Despite what Starbucks would have you believe, all these ads are driving me insane. Despite what Starbucks would have you believe, their chai tea lattes, the real homemade chai tea recipe, doesn't start with a syrup and it's not super heavily spiced. Uh, a recipe is not really necessary. It's really the method that matters. I already love what's happening here. This is exactly what I wanted, right? I want the method, not really like the recipe. I want to understand the techniques. I want to understand the method, and so I can, you know, well, hopefully replicate it myself, but also like understand a little bit about what's going on and not just like, all right, do this, like put this stuff in here or whatever, or like this is the mix of things you want necessarily. The most important key for flavor is to make really good strong tea without letting it get bitter from oversteeping. Well, yeah, that is a difficult thing to do, but if I'm not mistaken, what we're looking at here. Oh, is this an ad? Or is it not an ad? No, this is the ad. This is not an ad. But you can see also something I've noticed from different teas is what how they're used. So I mentioned I have a lot of dry tea leaves, and it usually kind of looks like little twigs. Um, but I know that with Thai tea, because I have some Thai tea mix, it's like a ground powder. It kind of looks like dirt. It's not, but it looks a lot like it. And you can see here a kind of similar thing. It seems to be ground. This might be, though I'm not sure, kind of an indication that it's supposed to be cooked as opposed to brewed, and it's and it might be ground for that reason because you're going to be cooking it and not brewing it. Um, I'm not sure, but that's something that seems to be like it might be the case. Here's how to make a really good cup of chai. Bring milk, water, and spices to a simmer in a small saucepan on the stove. Okay, small saucepan is highlighted. So just okay, here go buy a saucepan. Never mind. I was like, is this gonna be like a link to like an article about what size saucepan you should use? It was so weird that's like, all right. Adding the spices from the start gives them plenty of time to infuse. Reduce the heat and add in black tea to brew. So notice the tea comes in kind of later. Though I guess this isn't really a recipe. I'm curious of like, are we bringing this mixture to a boil? Uh, but as they say, it's not really a recipe, more like a method. So this might be just the broad version, and then we'll get the details later. Okay. Reduce the heat and add the black tea to brew. Wait for tea to steep. Don't boil it at this point. Oh, okay, so we're not even boiled yet. Don't boil it at this point, or the tea releases too many tannins, those bitter compounds that make your mouth feel dry. Interesting. Strain the warm spice mixture into a mug. This will hold back the whole spices and tea leaves. Stir sugar into your chai and sweeten to taste. Scale the recipe measurements below to number of servings you need. To the number of servings you need. This is a pretty straightforward method. I'm gonna try this for sure. When I can't, I'm not, I can't promise. I might be even like this weekend. I might not even make it for stream for a while. We'll see. But this seems very doable, and I like chai a lot, so I'll definitely be giving that a shot. Chai spices. I'm not gonna. If you love the flavor of North American coffee shop chai lattes, you can buy tea masala at any Indian grocer, which is just a ground mix. Which is just a ground mix. I think it means mixture of sweet spices. I personally find those spice blends usually taste dusty. I prefer to infuse my chai with fresh whole spices instead. That's very doable. We can do that. We'll add pepper. We already plan on spicing it. That's gonna suck. All right. Some of the most common spices, masala, used in Indian chai include cinnamon sticks or 1/4 teaspoon ground cinnamon. That's easy. Fresh ginger. We can do that. Whole cloves. It's doable. Green cardamom pods or a pinch of ground cardamom. I can do that. I love cardamom, especially in my coffee. So I have that. Nutmeg, allspice, star anise, fennel, black peppercorns. Some of these I already have. Some of them are easy. Some of them I'd have to like go get or something. Yeah. My personal favorite spice blends includes fresh ginger root, whole cardamom pods, cinnamon sticks, and sometimes fennel. You can use any or all of them to make your own flavor. I'm more likely to use ground cardamom than the pods, but sure. But fresh ginger root sounds really good, and then cinnamon. Okay, okay. And they want cinnamon sticks too. Interesting. I typically just toss in a few cardamom pods and fennel seeds, warming and delicious. If you don't have whole spices, you can use ground. Start with a bit and work up in quantity as the intensity will vary. Yeah, of course. Um, yeah, it does sound good, right, Camille? That's why I was like, we're gonna do this for sure. What tea should you use to make chai at home? I love loose leaf black tea like Assam or Darjeeling. I hope I did that any sort of justice. And the flavor is incredible in the spiced tea. This Tata Black, okay, is this going to sell some stuff? Is a brand of premium Assam leaf tea that my mother-in-law brings brings me from India, and I can also find it at our local Indian grocery stores. For the most part at home, however, I use whatever black tea I can easily find at the grocery store. For me, that is basic Tetley orange pico. I have black tea. I worry that the black teas I have are too much like a blend. I mean, can I use my peach black tea? I don't know. I really don't know. Um, yeah, if someone knows better, yeah, maybe you can like help me out with some of these questions. This is why it's better to learn from a person than from an article because when you have questions, I can't like I can't ask the article the answer to these questions. If you're avoiding caffeine, you can make it with black decaf black tea, but I find the flavor is super lackluster or rooibos tea. I just don't really like rooibos tea. I've only had it once, but oh my, did I absolutely hate it. Um, I mean, obviously that's just me. If you like it, good. I'm glad you enjoy. But um, yeah, I that was a thought of mine of like can we make it with a different kind of tea that maybe doesn't have caffeine? But it seems like, well, it's this tea that I hate or a decaf black tea, which is lackluster, as it says. Well, you just have to be sparing with it, you know. How to sweeten chai. For authenticity, it should be generously sweetened. I've seen recipe calls for 1 tablespoon sugar per cup. I don't measure, but I probably use 1.5 to 2 teaspoons in a coffee mug. It should have similar sweetness to hot cocoa. Okay. I also know I like sweet teas. That's why I like Thai tea as well, because it's also very sweet. That's not the same for everybody, so of course, taste. Just your eyes, avert your eyes and keep on spooning. That's what she said. No, uh, all right. It won't have more sugar than a Starbucks anyway. True. You'll just be aware instead of ignorant. Um, to sweeten chai, you can use plain granulated white sugar. Yeah, in the body of the article, the author never says chai tea. They always say chai, but until now, every title has said chai tea. I want to get to the bottom of this pathology. All right. You can use plain granulated white sugar, natural cane sugar, my favorite because it adds rich flavor, maple syrup or honey. Oh, interesting. Not my preference because those flavors are bolder and don't belong. Okay, sure. We can try this stuff out. It's all, there's a lot of experimentation and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. The cool thing is too, especially with sweetening, you can do a lot more experimentation because you could make a saucepans, of chai, and that could be multiple cups, but what if each cup is sweetened differently, then you can try this stuff out. What milk should I use for chai? You have options there. Plain whole cow's milk is the authentic standard. Okay. In parts of India where fresh milk isn't easily available, powdered whole milk is used instead. I really actually love the flavor of this too, and the concentrated creamy milkiness it imparts. Try it if you ever get the chance. Okay. If you don't do dairy milk, you're welcome to use your favorite substitute. However, I don't personally like the flavor of most almond, soy, or coconut milk alternatives. The only milk substitute that I enjoy the texture and flavor of is Earth's Own Barista Oat Milk. That is an Amazon link. Okay. For product reference, but it appears they only sell it by the case. Wow, that's a lot of oat milk. I wonder if you can use like 2% milk or something, or like, well, I wouldn't use skim milk because I grew up with it, and it was only until I stopped drinking skim milk that I realized, oh, no, I do like milk. It's just that non-fat is kind of gross, or more accurately, flavorless and bland. So, but I haven't quite moved up to using whole milk. So, like, I wonder if you can do 2% or something. Is chai high in caffeine? Yes, chai is brewed strongly with lots of black tea. However, coffee contains nearly twice the amount of caffeine in tea. I mean, sure, but it's good to know. Furthermore, black tea contains L-theanine, an amino acid with therapeutic calming properties. Sure. I am a registered dietitian, and I actually take L-theanine as a supplement for stress and sleep. Neat. Because of this compound, the overall caffeine feeling in chai is a less aggressive buzz than a cup of coffee. Sure, but like there are other issues with caffeine. All right, whatever. Keep in mind that the more tea bags you use, the longer you steep it, and the more you stir, it all makes for a higher caffeine chai. Yeah, probably like pulling more of it from the leaves. This is it's like a look at that. I don't know. It's a gorgeous color. Um, it's I don't only like orange as a color. It just happens to be that the two teas that have looked the best in a picture have been orange. It's not. It says you're not like secretly finding my pathologies or anything. Are there health benefits to drinking chai? I mean, that's not the kind of thing that I'm looking for here. So I don't know. It feels a little weird. I don't know. It feels too much to me like that new age, like, oh, if you drink chai, it'll like prevent cancer or whatever. Yeah. Okay, Amazon Kane, you say no judgment here, but your name is in orange. How do I know that that's just not just self-serving? Uh, all right, wondering what chai tea can do for you or if it's healthier than drinking coffee? Well, masala chai infused with spices may offer some impressive health benefits. We'll read through this just to be thorough, but Spices like black pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, and clove have shown biological activity in preventing disease. Yeah, this is exactly what I know. Yes, I am silly, of course. There is good evidence to show that spices can reduce inflammation and chronic inflammation related to many illnesses. So drink up. Okay. Oh, and then we have some. Okay, we have my Indian husband's favorite recipes. We have some links here. I was gonna open them up, but I'm probably just gonna save this article anyway. And then we also have a recipe here. All right. Oh, it's really just one serving. Okay. Uh, oh, okay. So it's 8 ounces of water, 4 ounces of whole milk, granulated sugar to taste, about 2 heaped teaspoons per serving traditionally. Um, what's with the? Oh, did they just have the? It's weird because like they're yeah, I guess they just have some stuff with different coloration in the text. I don't know. It's very strange. 1 heaping tablespoon of black tea. Empty out tea bags to make a tablespoon if you don't buy loose tea leaves. Oh, that's kind of funny. All right. Add any or all of the following: 4 cardamom pods smashed with the side of a knife, a small piece of cinnamon stick, 1/4 inch coin of fresh ginger, pinch of fennel seeds, about 10 seeds. Instructions: bring water and milk to simmer with desired spices in a medium saucepan. Reduce heat to lowest setting and add tea. Steep until tea takes on a deep pinky tan color, about 3 minutes, stirring occasionally. Strain into a cup and stir in sugar to taste. Cool. We'll definitely be trying this. Uh, Probably on my own before I do it on stream, but chai seems a lot more accessible. Like a lot, this seems a lot more doable than I would have thought. Like I would think that making a spiced tea would be like super complicated and difficult. This seems pretty easy, pretty doable. I mean, even the cooked it's like a less than 10 minutes to do the whole thing. That's pretty cool. So far, so far, quite enjoying this exercise. I'm glad we're doing this, learning a lot, and have a lot of stuff to come back to that we can try out. I'm also aware that there's different traditions in other places, like in the Middle East or whatever. I was having trouble finding stuff for that, but I did find this, so we'll learn how to make Arabic tea. Um, and One of the caveats that I said we'd get to, I am very aware that there are an enormous number of cultures that we're just not even mentioning, let alone reading articles about. Some amount of it is like, well, I couldn't find a whole lot from Africa or from South America, which I think is another one of these tabs. That might be the last one. Spoiler alert. Yeah, this was the Sencha. This is from South America, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but it's just a matter of like, there's a lot of cultures. We can't learn everything about everything. And if someone wants to educate me about it, as I've mentioned a bunch of times, I'm very happy. I'm excited. I would request that you do so. All right. This is more of a recipe than like a method. The last article was perfect. It was the exact thing I was looking for, even in the Chinese article as well. Um, but like I said, we're only going to be able to find certain things. Not everyone is like the British, where they're writing articles about, no, this is how you do it. Don't be stupid. Uh, maybe no one else is arguing about it. Well, I'm glad it's giving you ideas, Camgal. Uh, oh, Essential from Japan, Amazon cane? Okay, then maybe I'm mistaken, because I found this when searching for South American tea, or maybe it's making, because it's even how to make tea the South American way. Maybe it's using sencha, a tea from Japan, and then making it in a method that's South American. I don't know. We'll get to it when we get to it. Because I'm guessing, I have to imagine tea was made all over the world. It's the kind of thing that you would think is really ubiquitous, kind of like soup. What is soup? You heat water, you throw things in the water, they cook, you eat the things. It's very like it's so simple that even if cultures, even if at a split between, okay, they crossed the Bering Sea, went to Americas, and soup hadn't been invented yet somehow, they'll still have it. It's that easy and ubiquitous. Tea is the same thing. It's just, instead of putting food in it, you put a couple of leaves for flavor. Um, so I have to imagine tea is a worldwide thing, as far as having traditions and methods and all this stuff. But I don't necessarily know how to find them, is a big problem. Maybe South America has their own sencha. Also possible, yeah. Maybe it's just like called the same because it's a very similar kind of tea, even if it's a different plant, or maybe like the tea. that like there are tea making traditions, but they like making it with sencha tea that they've gotten. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. When we get there, we'll figure it out. We'll allow the mystery to simmer in your mind until then. Uh, Simple directions. We're gonna skip that because it'll go. We're gonna read it in detail. So, start to finish about 10 minutes. Servings for level beginner, sure. Offering tea is an integral part of Arab hospitality, and the people of the Arab world would drink tea throughout the day. Um, this is all in the Middle East, not merely the Arab parts of the Middle East. No, whatever, it doesn't matter. On the Arabian Peninsula, black tea is the favored brew. It seems like black tea is the most popular we've seen across the world. I know green tea is extremely popular in China, but they also make black. They also make. There's also black tea that comes from there. Uh, Orwell was talking about like your black tea should be Chinese or I think he was saying like Chinese, Indian, or um, Ceylon. I don't remember. Maybe it was just Indian Ceylon, but um, most we see black tea coming up very very commonly. It's interesting. Rather than the green tea served in Asia. Oh, okay, right there. All right. Ingredients: water, tea, mint leaves. That seems cool. Cardamom. If you're not familiar with like having cardamom as a spice in things like coffee or tea, highly recommend trying it out. Obviously, it's not for everybody because nothing is, but I like it a lot. It's I think cardamom is a little pricey. I don't know. I haven't purchased it in a while because once you get some, I ground mine. That lasts for so long. I forget how expensive it is. All right. Optional is 6 sage leaves, cinnamon powder, cloves, nutmeg, and sugar. That was the thing that stood out to me because I found a few articles about. Well, I shouldn't say articles. A few recipes for Arabic tea, which. But the thing that was standing out was like this is a spiced tea. The other ones might have also been spiced, but I didn't. Once I found this one, I didn't look past it. I was just like, ooh, okay, that's interesting. All right, directions: bring water to a boil, simmer for 2 to 3 minutes until the color diffuses, then remove the pot from the stove. Um, until the Oh, okay. Bring the water to a boil and add the tea leaves or bags. Okay, I was like, oh, aren't you gonna pour the tea? Okay, no, that's in the first step. Got it. Simmer for 2 to 3 minutes until the color diffuses. So that's also really interesting. Is that this method doesn't remove you're not cooking it in the water. You're heating the water separately, but you're not removing the water from the heat to pour it. Instead, you're leaving it on the heat for a few minutes. That's interesting. Then you remove the pot from the stove. Rinse the mint leaves under running water. Shake them dry and tear them apart by hand. Crush the cardamom pods gently in a pestle and mortar. I usually hear it the other order is a mortar and pestle. It doesn't really matter. It's just kind of funny. I'm used to this combination of items appearing in a specific order. It's something I wouldn't have thought about until I saw it the other way. Pour the tea into a serving pot and add the mint and cardamom pods. Cover and allow to steep for 5 minutes. Interesting. Pour through a strainer to serve. Pour the tea through. Serve the tea by pouring it through a strainer into small, delicate, heat-proof glasses, and add sugar to taste. Tips: Arab tea served in the Middle East tends to be taken sweet with an almost syrupy consistency. Interesting. I did not know that. Spicy brew boosts the infusion with a more assertive spice mix, usually at the expense of the mint leaves, as the fragrant subtlety is lost once the spices take over. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Maramea? Tea substitutes fresh sage leaves. Native to the Mediterranean for mint to give a soothing tea. This tea is traditional in Lebanon. Cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg are also appropriate options, releasing aromatic oils into the tea as it steeps. Milky tea. The influence of Indian chai on the Arabian Peninsula makes itself known with the karak tea served with condensed milk. Boil up the spices first. I assume in the water. Typically cardamom, nutmeg, and cinnamon, then add black tea and allow to brew. Stir in a dash of condensed milk. That's kind of interesting that it's with condensed milk. Enough to give the tea some creaminess, but not too much to dilute the dark tan color. Some brands of condensed milk come with flavor with cinnamon. Oh, I didn't know that. And then presentation stuff. I don't care that much about that. Presentation is key, I suppose. But how to make coca tea? Coca tea is made using leaves of the coca plant. It is used as a digestive and diuretic treatment. The tea is also beneficial in preventing high altitude sickness. Interesting. It is most commonly used for energizing and awakening as an alternative to coffee. Probably has a high caffeine content, right? Dried coca leaves can be made in a drinking tea that is rich in antioxidants but is not caffeinated. Oh, it's not. Interesting. The tea leaves are available at organic markets and health food stores and online. Step 1. Heat the cold water in a pot but do not boil. Interesting. Heat until bubbles form at the bottom of bottom of the top? Or do you mean bottom or the top? What? As cocoa tea is similar to Asian green tea and warm water brings out flavors better. Place a teaspoon of dried cocoa tea leaves in a tea infuser. Insert the tea infuser in the pot with water. This is kind of similar to the top drop method. It's in an infuser as opposed to allowing the leaves to simply sink to the bottom, but it's at the very least similar. Steep and allow cocoa tea leaves to infuse for 20 minutes. Oh, that's a long time. Wow. For a darker brew, and add 10 minutes for a light amber brew. And 10 minutes for a light amber brew. Okay. Use 10 minutes to steep method for the first time, as the tea can be strong. Pour coca tea in a mug to the half fill line. Taste and dilute with warm water if it is too strong for you. Pour a full cup of cocoa tea if the taste is desired. Oh, okay, sure. Sweeten tea with a teaspoon of honey and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Stir and sip, or you can drink it unsweetened if you prefer. That's really cool. And we also have. I actually didn't even realize there were multiple parts of this. I didn't realize that there were multiple recipes here. I thought it was just the Arabic tea at the start. But now we're also seeing golden milk turmeric tea recipe. We're getting more bang for our not bucks since we didn't spend money on this. But we're learning more. That's cool. Golden milk turmeric tea, also known as golden milk latte, is a popular beverage in the wellness community. It features a generous dose of turmeric and ginger, resulting in a spicy drink with potent anti-inflammatory properties. The beverage also contains ground black pepper, which increases the bioavailability of turmeric. In other words, it helps your body soak up the goodness of turmeric. Here's how to make this deliciously comforting beverage. I feel bad because I'm like, all right, are we really gonna save all these articles? Or none of them gonna be like, okay, we move on? And then I'm like, I'm gonna save this one too. I'm just gonna do that now. I don't know why that would make me feel bad, I guess, but it's just one of those like, oh yeah, this one's good too. All right, we're adding this. I guess I'm just making the list of things I'm gonna try longer and longer. I even have like the tea tips hanging out that we found the last time we were talking tea on stream. All right, 1.5 cups of non-dairy milk. Interesting. This is the first we've seen a recipe that specifically wants non-dairy milk, like oat milk, almond milk, soy milk, whatever. That's really cool. Interesting. A teaspoon of ground turmeric, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, quarter teaspoon of ground black pepper, tablespoon of maple syrup or honey. Step 1, in a small pot or saucepan. Oh, this is another cooked recipe. Combine all the ingredients, bring to a boil, then reduce to a simmer. Heat for 5 to 8 minutes, whisking frequently or until the ingredients are fully combined. Let cool until slightly warm before pouring into your mug. Depending on your taste buds, you might need to adjust the ingredients. For example, you might prefer a lighter turmeric taste or a stronger ginger flavor. You can also add more sweetener if needed. I also wonder if you like, because one of my family members like really, really doesn't like sweet stuff. I wonder if she'd prefer just like, nah, screw the sweetener. Let's get that turmeric. Let's go. Although golden milk latte is often enjoyed warm, you can also drink it cold. Simply shake the drink in a martini shaker with ice, then pour over ice cubes. Garnish with cinnamon or coconut whipped cream if desired. How to make mint julep. All right, well, this is a different thing, right? Mint julep is just a very different thing. What's a cocktail? Oh, maybe this is just a Oh, I think I might have gotten debated. Is this just a never-ending series of articles? Like you'll scroll to the next thing? Yeah, okay, never mind. It just scrolls to the next thing. All right. So the Arabic tea is unrelated to the other ones. I mean, we learned stuff, so that's cool. I'm kind of interested in trying something like coca tea or this golden milk turmeric tea, but it is very much off topic. I just didn't realize that every time we get to the bottom, it loads another recipe and then we add more. It's just the mint julep of like, wait, hold on, that's what's all right, all right, all right. You got me long enough, website. You tricked me. We're moving on. This is the last article I have prepared, and this is, as I mentioned already, how to make tea. Okay. So this isn't sencha tea. It's just from a site called Sencha, I guess. How to make mate tea in the South American way. With a robust flavor and studies showing its potential to replace coffee, yerba mate tea is growing in popularity. I have definitely seen this in tea shops. I don't know if I've tried it. I don't remember. It's possible, but I don't remember. Described by Guayaki as having the strength of coffee, the health benefits of tea, and the euphoria of chocolate, yerba mate is a delightfully balanced beverage that rejuvenates and invigorates. Whew, you'll have to forgive me. I've been reading these articles for a while. I'm tripping over my words now. Yerba mate is also an extremely versatile. I'm also praying that I'm pronouncing it correctly. That what made sense to me is how it's pronounced, but maybe I'm wrong. Is also extremely versatile tea, meaning that it can be brewed in a variety of different ways, including with the coffee maker you already have at home. That's kind of interesting. While this is great news for people who want to enjoy drinking yerba mate without a lot of hassle, there are also brewing methods that date back for centuries and incorporate a cultural experience into each cup. That's what we're after. That's what I want. For a more immersive tea drinking experience, we'll show you how to brew yerba mate tea in the traditional South American way. Yeah, buddy. All you need is a gourd or calabash. Oh, that was not what these are not things that's not what I would expect to need. What is that second thing? Calabash? Oh, it's a okay, interesting. It looks like a gourd in itself, but maybe it's not a gourd. I don't know. Metal straw and T-ball to get started. This is the first we've seen of very different tools that you need. We saw a little bit in the Chinese tea making article where there were like some things that like are a little specific, like the specific size teapot, or I forget the name of the kind of like the cup with the lid to like hold the tea leaves back while you pour. That's why I'm doing this stupid motion, which makes no sense without the thing in my hand. But this is the first we've seen of a like very, very different set of tools that you need, right? You need a gourd, a metal straw specifically, and a tea ball. That's really cool. Read on to find out what makes yerba mate tea so special and how to brew the perfect cup each and every time. Known as the tea of the gods, this leafy elixir offers a host of health benefits, including the potential to prevent cancer and improve brain function. The most well-known health benefit of yerba mate tea is its use as a replacement for coffee. With natural stimulant compounds such as theobromine, yerba mate offers the kick you need to get your day started without the negative side. Okay, I don't want the like sales pitch. Uh, made from a mix of stems and leaves from the plant that they wrote here that has a name and is pronounceable by me, but I'm not going to. I don't want to show off. This tea is popular in indigenous communities such as the Guarani. God, I hope I'm pronouncing things right. In Paraguay as well as Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. Or is it Uruguay? Like Paraguay. I don't know. I try very hard to pronounce things right, but I don't always succeed. Featuring a chocolatey, earthy. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'd heard that yerba mate tea is like a very chocolatey flavored tea, which means I might not like it because that's not a flavor I'd want from tea. And maybe that's why I haven't tried it. But I remember hearing about this part of it. Earthy and nutty flavor. Yerba mate offers a bitter flavor profile that is similar to green tea, black tea, and coffee. Woodsy notes can offset with a little honey if preferred, but traditionally this tea is consumed unsweetened. Whether you drink yerba mate for the health benefits or simply because you love the taste, there are a few guidelines. That's what we're here for. We're here for the taste. We're here for the experience. We're not. No. There are a few guidelines to follow when brewing the perfect mate cup. Read on to find out how to brew it just like the South American gods. Traditional South American brewing method. Yerba mate can be brewed in the South American way or using tools most Westerners use to brew coffee. I want to know about the traditional way. Even if I like try to make it and I don't have access to these tools and I have to do it in another way, I want to know the traditional way. The traditional way to brew and consume yerba mate tea is by using a gourd or calabash. Don't worry if you don't have one of these tea tools on hand. Simply brew yerba mate using a stainless steel French press, coffee pot, or teapot, or espresso machine instead. I I'd like that it's a good thing that they're giving like here are alternatives. I wonder if using using a plant based like a plant as your vessel, like a gourd or this calabash. I wonder if there's an amount of flavor that comes from that, right? You could imagine, imagine making tea in a pumpkin. There's going to be an amount of like pumpkin flavor that like comes from, just the sides of the pumpkin kind of getting infused into the tea. I wonder if that's part of the idea, part of why it's the case that this is how it's traditionally done. Traditionally, yerba mate is sipped not from the brim of a cup, but from a metal straw. These straws have a filter on the bottom end, which is used to filter out the powdery leaves when drinking. Okay, see, yeah, like that's really important to know. If you didn't know that, you would be like, why am I chewing my tea? Traditional yerba mate ceremonies are community affairs that center on kinship and familial ties. Many South American societies pass around gourds of yerba mate as a show of communal friendship and to bond with new acquaintances. I think this is pretty common with tea in general. That this is very not maybe what they mean is maybe this is implying that in South America it's more um, far more commonly the case that it is a social thing as opposed to just something you make on your own. But I think drinking tea together is like a thing. Like even the British have tea parties. That's like an afternoon tea. It's like a thing. Um, though I'm not saying like this is a pointless sentence. Just so much as saying like it's kind of cool that there is this thing across a lot of cultures. Like yeah, tea. We drink it and we drink it together and we enjoy and like we relax and we enjoy the each other's company and our beverage and it's a good time. Whether you choose to prepare yerba mate using traditional methods or with a French press, follow the guidelines below. Cure your gourd or calabash. There's a lot that goes into that. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Amazon can. The sense of community and comfort is really nice. Before you using your mate gourd for the first time, you need to cure it to ensure the best flavor profiles. Yeah, I was right. The flavor is an important part of using the gourd when brewing your tea. You only need to cure the gourd once, but it's important to allow your gourd to dry completely between each use to prevent mold. Yeah, that seems important. Also, because it's like from a gourd, I wouldn't be surprised if you replace it like moderately frequently, or at the very least more frequently than people usually replace teapots. And I don't think that's even a bad thing. That's just kind of cool, especially because like you just need to cure a gourd. Just like I don't know, if you live somewhere where they're local, you can just like go outside and pick one, or go to the store and get a gourd, and you're like, all right, there we go, let's go. You don't need like specific apparatus in the sense of like you don't need it to be made for you. Also, avoid using soap to clean your gourd, as the porous surface can absorb residue and alter the flavor. Yeah, I've heard this about was it like cast iron is the same way? There are some materials where like if you won't be able to get all the soap out is the problem. To cure your gourd, use the following steps. This is going to be pretty inaccessible to me to me, but I want to know about it, so we're going to go over it anyway. We're not skipping. Add a few tablespoons of yerba mate to the gourd and fill to the brim with hot water. Oh, interesting. So you're also like curing it with the flavor of this tea. That's really cool. You're like kind of prepping it to be like this isn't a teapot that makes kinds of tea. This is my yerba mate gourd. We use it for this. And if you want to make a different kind of tea, I wonder if you would infuse it with a different uh you would if you would infuse your gourd with a different kind of tea. That's really cool. Allow the gourd to sit for 24 hours, then dump out the contents and rinse well. Gently scrape the inside of the gourd using a spoon. Be careful not to scrape too hard or to damage the stem at the bottom of the cup, which prevents leakage. Allow the gourd to dry completely before using. With continued use, your mate gourd will begin to take on the green color of the yerba mate tea. That's really cool. Make sure to only use the cured gourd with yerba mate teas and not other types to avoid altering the flavor profile. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, this is not a teapot we're making. We're making our yerba mate gourd. This is what it's for and nothing else. That's really cool. With a well cared for gourd, your yerba mate teas will have a more developed and rich flavor. Step 2, prepare leaves. Yerba mate can be brewed by using mate tea bags or one of our loose leaf packages in combination with a tea ball or strainer. If using loose tea, fill 1/3 of the gourd with mate leaves. That's a lot. That's actually a lot in proportion to to the rest of the vessel. In general, you should use 1 teaspoon of loose leaves for every 8-ounce cup of water. Oh, okay. It's weird. Like, okay, is it just do they just take up that much space that a third of an 8-ounce cup would be 1 teaspoon? Yeah, I don't know. That's no, that doesn't line up. Yeah, that's weird that it's 1/3. Um, oh, this is kind of neat. Step 2, prepare leaves. Yerba mate can be brewed using. Oh no, we read that one. Step 3, simmer water. Avoid using extremely hot water when making yerba mate tea to avoid cracking your gourd. Okay, that's it. Really important to know. Yeah, using high water temperatures can also result in a more bitter taste. Bring your water to a simmer instead of a boil and pour hot water into the gourd, covering all of the mate leaves. Let the tea steep for 3 to 5 minutes. Yerba mate is typically consumed hot, but you can also drink the mate leaves cold for a refreshing beverage if preferred. Simply add hot water, then allow the tea to steep and cool to room temperature before placing in the refrigerator or serving immediately with ice cubes. That's something I wonder too. Maybe the reason why I kept getting a bitter taste or a burnt taste from my iced black teas is maybe because once I brew it and I put it in my pitcher, I put the pitcher directly in the fridge. I don't wait for it to cool. I leave it out to like cool a bit while I'm like washing up everything afterwards, which takes a few minutes, sure. But it's going into the fridge hot. I wonder if it's a better idea for all iced teas to let it cool to room temperature before putting it in the fridge. I'm not actually sure. Part of it is I don't know why this is done, so it's hard for me to evaluate if I should be doing it in other circumstances. Another reason, again, why I'd prefer to learn from a person than from an article, but I'm glad we're learning at all. Step 4, sweeten to taste. Optional. While traditionally consumed unsweetened, you can flavor your yerba mate using lemon juice. That's kind of interesting. This is something I mentioned as far as my experience with lemon in my tea, which is that you would assume that lemon would make it more sour, but in my experience, it does add sweetness. The sourness doesn't seem to permeate through the tea, but instead you get that fruity citric sweetness. You get the sugars from the fruit. I was wondering prior if that would mean that since that's the case, I wonder if you could use like orange or lime or any other citrus instead. But I'm glad I know that because this would be a little bit confusing to me of like, wait, you're sweetening with lemon? Well, yeah, actually, once it's heated in once it's in a tea, it does seem to add, at the very least in black tea, it does seem to add sweetness as opposed to sourness. All right, using lemon, mint, warm milk, or burnt sugar. Oh, that's interesting. Burnt sugar. That's really really interesting. Yeah, there's so like this sentence has so much that you could learn to understand. Like it implies so much that you could learn. I'm really interested if to find out more about it. Maybe I'll look more into it on my own, or hopefully someone can like fill me in who knows better. Uh, okay, this is packed with caffeine. Okay, then now this is just like a sales pitch. I don't. Wait, didn't we just? Is there a reason why? Is this just repeating? Okay, this jumpstart your day with yerba mate, which we are skipping because it's just like a sales pitch. Um, wasn't repeated, but we read this part. We saw that we just read this. What is this? Is it okay? It just accidentally repeated, I guess. All right, if this is the last part, then I will read the jumpstart your day with yerba mate. Maybe this is supposed to be at the beginning. Maybe this is the conclusion, and like for some reason the author's article got duplicated when put on the site. I don't know. Packed with caffeine, yerba mate is a great alternative to coffee without the negative side effects. I mean, it still has some of them because it's packed with caffeine, but sure. With the delicious flavor profile that is rich and chock full of tannins, the tea offers a unique drinking experience, which with history dating back centuries. If you're looking to try yerba mate but don't want to commit to buying an entire bag of it, check out. Okay, yeah, this is just a sales pitch. Enjoy your yerba mate, ice cold on the patio, or take it on the go on a cold winter morning in your thermos. Celebrate, yeah. Okay, so that's that. I think we learned a lot today, and it was really, really, really cool. All right, this is gonna be like, I am gonna add this to like, we'll check it out later, but this has got to be a lot later because if I were interested in doing this, and I am a little bit, I mean, I'd want to do it the right way, which means I have to go like cure a gourd, get a metal straw and a T-ball, which did they even say what to use the T-ball for? What even is a T-ball? I thought maybe it's one of those like tea infuser balls and you put it in there, but that's not what it sounded like. No, you actively don't do that. They even say um, that you put the tea leaves in, then you fill the. Um, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Amazon King. Thanks for hanging out. Uh, I wonder if like I thought at first like maybe the T-ball is something that goes in there and like you use it to like basically as a stirring device. Um, like by jostling the ball around, it agitates everything in there. But it didn't even mention the T-ball, right? In the instructions, it said you'll need a gourd. Um, wait, where's the rest of it? A metal straw. Wait, does it not say that you need a T? I didn't make that up, right? That was definitely a thing we read. I feel like I'm going crazy because I don't remember where it was. Okay, all you need is a gourd, a metal straw, and a T-ball. Yeah, you need a T-ball. Oh, maybe yerba mate comes in balls, and that's what it's talking about as a T-ball. Okay, what is a T-ball? um, well, according to my recipes, they're the worst ways to make tea. Oh, it's also how I make tea. Phenomenal. Okay, so is that what it's talking about? Okay. Okay, a T-ball is the strainer. Okay, 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 okay. That's the thing I use, which according to according to this article that we stumbled on, it's the worst way to make tea. It's also what I use to make tea, apparently. Uh oh, but yeah, a lot of these problems are like these are not actually problems. The size is not no, the size is not a problem for me. It holds more than what is being said here, and you don't even need this much for a cup of tea. If my cup of tea, yeah, I don't know what the hell. The mess, it is a they're a little bit fussy to work with, but it gives you the opportunity to make a single cup of tea with loose leaves, as opposed to having to making a pot, which is a lot also like a lot to clean up, but it might just be more than you want. I the pinching? Who cares about pinching? First of all, you don't have to pinch. Just use a teaspoon. And the fussiness is whatever. Yeah, these are not real. Okay, well we found another article of of someone complaining, and it wasn't. Well, we disagree. I will in the future, Chemgal. I'll read this. I'll read this article about ayahuasca, but it's a little bit off topic. That said, Uh, I hope you all also learned a lot about tea today. I definitely did, and I hope it was a great way to fill the time, given that what I had planned for today was just not gonna happen, or just didn't happen for various reasons. And well, we found something cool and interesting to do. Learned a lot, having a lot of ideas. I will definitely be trying to make masala chai at some point. Maybe not even in the immediate future, but I'm definitely gonna try doing that. That all said, I got stuff to take care of for the rest of my day, and I don't really have much else to go over. So, with that, I will thank you all so much for watching. Please be so kind, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow on Kick, so on and so forth. Thank you again to everyone who's been uh, really interested in my videos lately. That's really cool that people are, particularly on YouTube. There are a lot of people who are really interested. Even even the trolls who try so desperately to anger me to no avail. Your efforts are in vain. I hope you enjoy that knowledge. That said, thank you all so much for being here. I did the typical ADD thing of forgetting about my tea and barely drinking any of it, but at least it's not at risk of getting cold. And it's not room temperature yet, so it hasn't gotten warm either. Thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great weekend, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.